怒りを叫べ悲しみを叫べ魂を叫べ今ここで叫べ
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Yokai Delinquents podcast. I am Sean, Bearded Cappolitan.
And I am Jerry Robo-Tengu Smith. How's it going, Sean? We've had a lot of good stuff come out lately.
Dude, it's been, so crazy. So much goodness, as y'all heard on last week. Just a little bit of catching up, and that wasn't even enough time to cover everything that's been going down.
Oh, seriously.
So we got a couple of things we want to discuss this week, I believe.
Yeah. So first off, that Mortal Kombat movie, though, am I right?
Oh yes, that Mortal Kombat movie. We're definitely gonna dive into it here. Of course, I gotta give my shout out to myself out there. If you do want to see my really quick thoughts on it, spoiler free, which we're probably gonna be getting into spoilers with this talk. But as always, check out my Bearded Cap Productions YouTube channel. I did release a little 6 or 7 minute long. That's my thoughts on the movie, but I'm 100% ready to just, cause I saw it and I had to make a video. I haven't been doing the movie reviews as often here lately, but so busy with everything else we're doing. But I saw that one, and so let's get into it. Of course, spoiler warning: if y'all have not yet watched it and you're listening to us, go watch it, and then pause us, go watch it, and then come back, because we don't timestamp, because I don't know how.
Maybe one of these days.
Probably. Maybe. But
we'll see.
Go check it out and then come back and check out our thoughts on it, which we're about to get into right now. So, I enjoyed it. We'll just throw that out there first and foremost. I enjoyed this film. It was what I wanted out of a Mortal Kombat movie that's R-rated and a modern take. And now, I'm not as deep into Mortal Kombat as I used to be, because when the original came out, that was the Sega Genesis Super Nintendo Wars era, which is when I played the most Mortal Kombat. And since then, I've kept up with a lot of kind of story elements, especially with I think it was 9, where they kind of rebooted the franchise. And, which my understanding is, what I've seen of those storylines, a lot of story elements they took from those recent games were put into this movie.
I actually have only played a bit of 9. I think I've watched more of it be played. I haven't done any of 10, and I actually, just because this movie hyped me up so much, after we watched it, I went and bought 11.
Oh, nice.
I enjoyed the shit out of this movie.
Yeah,
I really did.
It delivered. It delivered on an update on the special effects, an update on the action. And with nods to the classic stuff. And, you're not going to get Shakespearean plays when you're talking about Mortal fucking Kombat. It has always towed the line between kind of a dark story with that cheesy goodness that is Mortal Kombat. And I think the film did just that as well. Right.
Yeah, and they had a great cast of characters. They had some really great characters. I was pretty happy that they focused on Sub-Zero so well, because that's one of my favorites. And they are doing his storyline. I really, really appreciate that they're kind of sticking to the source material. But man, the guy that was playing Scorpion, Hiroyuki Sanada, he has been in a lot of stuff, and he's always one of those people that really kind of jumps out at me whenever I watch anything with him in it. I don't know if you ever saw like that Twilight Samurai movie.
I still haven't. I need to watch
Man,
that. Yeah.
oh, get on that. Kind of. He's done a lot of like American movies as like that samurai role. You know, he was in Last Samurai, which is probably the first thing I ever saw him in. So that was interesting. And then I want to say in Avengers Endgame, he was the big Yakuza boss that Hawkeye was going after, right?
I believe so. And
Yeah.
speaking of Marvel, did you catch the other Marvel actor in this?
Maybe not, since you have said that. Yeah.
Raiden. That was Hogan
Oh,
for the Warriors 3.
no, yeah.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
Hogan. I had to look it up. Don't get it wrong. I looked up the cast
Okay.
when I did my review. So that was Hogan from the Warriors 3.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but yeah, and on top of that, yeah. So we can get into that too. You know, in 1995, not that it was any less of an issue, but unfortunately, in mainstream, whitewashing and just not no I know I did at 15. I didn't give a shit, and a lot of people didn't. You know, with Christopher Lambert being Raiden, a French man being Sub-Zero, granted behind the mask, but still, you know, and to really bring in an international Asian cast. You know what I mean? Like, no, we got everyone from Indonesian to Japanese, you know, in here, and it really brought that martial art flavor. Whether that, you know, however you want to take that, is like, I mean, we got, you know, like the dude playing Scorpion. Granted, he's playing Chinese. He's Indonesian. He was actually in the very first Raid film. He was the main character's partner who did the 2-on-1 with Mad Dog.
Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero, you said Scorpion.
Sorry, yeah.
But,
Sub-Zero's character. You know,
Yeah.
he's Indonesian with that Pingtat Salat martial art style, you know, and just you can see in that alone they let him really just go wild with it. Which my understanding in production is they actually had to tell him to slow down during filming because he's such a beast. And and like I said, Raiden and like, you know, the looks. Now, granted, yeah, like 95, like Scorpion and Sub-Zero, they looked like the games did back then. But I do like that the characters have evolved with how the games have evolved. The more detail, like, it's got the core of the basic suits from the original game, but how it's kind of gone on. And like characterization, like it's one of the few times, because like, you know, we always complain about adaptations when they take, you know, you have all this source of material, why do you have to change anything? And they always end up doing it. And it was a studio demand, apparently, that they added in Cole, the MMA fighter.
Yeah.
He was, they were like, no, we need someone who, you know, the audience wants to connect to, you know, the everyman. So they added a brand new character. But it worked. It didn't feel, he felt naturally into the movie. He wasn't just oh, well, you know, I'm you know, John Doe so-and-so, and I'm the perfect fighter.
Mila Jovovich from Monster Hunter. Gotcha.
Hey, look, she had to fight a Diablos, okay? That hardened you up really quick. He's not ex-military. He wasn't a champion MMA fighter. He was a fucking punching bag, which also tied into, you know, his later ability and stuff. And yeah, I mean, there's changes, sure, but like, they really nailed a lot of the characters. You know, Sonya Blade, Jax, Kano was a fucking show stealer for me.
Yeah. Kung Lao was a big one I didn't think we were gonna get.
Right.
They just like threw in so many like characters that I thought we'd never see, like fucking Cabal.
Yeah, Cabal was not on the radar for who might pop up in this film. And
I mean, just talking about like the Cole Young character, I've seen like a lot of people complain about it, you know, like, why do we need this character, blah 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 blah. And you know, most of the time I would kind of agree with that. Like, I really kind of hate it when we have a big plethora of like source material and stuff like that, and they add somebody to introduce us to this world. But Mortal Kombat literally does like adds a new character every game to their roster. Yeah. And this did not feel like out of the ordinary for me. Like, yes, it's weird that they made him the main character, but who gives a shit? Like, it was still a pretty interesting character, and like the ability and backstory was pretty cool as well.
Yeah, it fit in, and like to me, it worked better than the last and the only other R-rated Mortal Kombat movie, which was Scorpion's Revenge, I think it was called, the animated one, which had, much like this film, you had the first 15, 20 minutes of Scorpion's origin, except in that film, it turned into Mortal Kombat 1 all over again, and was a lot less interesting than this storyline, which, granted, we still kept with Cole, again, we're hitting spoilers here, being Scorpion's descendant, with the prophecy thing, which is fine. I mean, because yes, you brought up the complaints, so I'm gonna address this shit. Like, look, there's nothing wrong with a difference of opinion. You're allowed to like what you like. You're allowed to hate what you hate. Don't be a dick about it. But if you're gonna enter into a conversation about it, don't just say I didn't like it. The original was better. Like, you better explain to me how the fuck the original had better fighting, because this is what I've seen on social media. They said the first one had better fighting, better acting, and a better soundtrack. I'm like, pull your nostalgia goggles out your ass, okay? I love the first one. I have a nostalgia boner for it, of course. When that movie hit, I was 15 years old. That was my shit. The soundtrack was my shit. It hasn't aged well.
Right.
And the nerve of one of my buddies, I'm not going to name drop him because I'm not giving him any attention. I'm sorry. You're still my boy, and you're allowed to have your opinion. But he who shall not be named said that he'd rather watch Annihilation than this. Like, bro, I love you, but fuck you. I'm sorry. Like, okay, you didn't dig this film, but Annihilation? Mortal Kombat, the TV series, was better than Annihilation.
Right.
And I don't care if you want to talk the animated or the live action one that happened in between the replays of WCW Nitro. Yeah, I bet most of y'all motherfuckers didn't even know that was a thing. I watched it. And so it's like, is it perfect? Fuck no. But it's also Mortal Kombat. Again, like I already kind of say. So, okay, I had to get that out. Dude, but sorry.
So like the whole kind of synopsis of the story, it's still supposed to boil around a tournament, right? Where you have the Outer Realm people fighting the Earth Realm people. Outer Realms already won 9 of the 10 tournaments or whatever, and if they win one more, they get to invade, which has never really stopped the Nether Realm people or the outer world people from invading anyway. Which is so it's kind of funny. But so then they also, and this is the first time this has ever been implemented into the series, but they have the dragon marks or whatever, and it's kind of like a birthmark or something like that. But essentially what it is like you're a chosen fighter to fight in this tournament and stuff like that. And apparently if someone kills you, then the mark gets transferred to them. That was a little weird because I feel like anybody could. And then there's also there was also the whole thing of if you have this mark, you can get abilities. And I did think it was a little weird that Jax's arms and Kano's laser eye came from that, because I kind of liked the whole thought of them using real world tech to fight in this tournament. But again, you're dealing with this thing. It doesn't really matter how they get their abilities or whatever. They just have them. Yeah. The one that was a little weird to explain for me was Kung Lao's thing with his hat, but I don't know. Again, doesn't matter.
I mean, that's
the character was still done well.
Yeah, I mean that's Kung Lao showed up in the original Mortal Kombat game. He's badass with a hat. And that's the thing too, is granted, what he does with the hat is, I guess that's a special ability. Then he's not shooting fireballs or having a laser eye. He can just Captain America a hat around, which Captain America can defy physics as Spider-Man Civil War. Why the fuck not? But
exactly.
You can nitpick all the kind of things. Sure, we would rather have seen Kano have an electric eye, but how the fuck does that make sense that he can have a laser fucking eye patch? But the biggest one that did get me, and even I had to pause and think about it, it was Jax. His special ability was better robot arms for his robot arms, which, hey, fine, because that's his gimmick in the games. Yeah. Does that mean that because he was already a chosen one, so if he never lost his arms, he never would have gotten the power? Or is it just it adapts to whatever you're doing at the moment? Hey, again,
I,
this
yeah,
doesn't matter. He got his Jax robot arms. He clapped that motherfucker's head, and it was
hmm
beautiful. And that's all I fucking want.
yeah, and I mean like that was all I really like, portrayal of characters and good fight scenes, and like fight scenes done in the style of Mortal Kombat, and they fucking nailed it on both accounts. I feel like they opened up with that amazing intro
Yes.
with Scorpion and Sub-Zero fighting each other because um, canonically in the story, Sub-Zero and the Lin Kuei go to wipe out the Shiro Ryu.
Yeah.
And the Sub-Zero at the time is Bihan. Well, like what a lot of people don't know is Bihan was basically mind controlled to wipe out the clan and everything. And then Scorpion comes back and seeks his vengeance and everything. I think it was Quan Chi who was responsible for that. But the cool thing that I really liked that they did, because I kept waiting for it, is that Bihan ends up dying, becoming Noob Saibot, and then the new Sub-Zero that takes over, Koi Ling, actually works with Earthrealm and in fighting like the outer world and everything.
Right.
And it was just I thought it was really really cool. But yeah, he's like Bihan's brother, so they actually kind of left that open as an option for the next movie. And I'm kind of like, I'm excited that we have the possibility of 3 more sequels. I hope we get at least one more, because I just want to see like where they take it, what other characters they introduced. Spoiler, we already mentioned, but one of the characters that they mentioned and kind of teased at the very end was Johnny Cage. Right. And then of course with Shang Tsung taking Sub-Zero's body, we know Noob Saibot's coming, so that probably means that Koi Ling is coming as well as our second Sub-Zero, and arguably the better Sub-Zero. But yes, it's got me real excited.
No, for sure. And I mean, there's a plethora of fucking characters in Mortal Kombat, so there's no shortage of because they killed a lot of characters in this movie, which is fine because there's so many more to bring in. That sequels totally possible. The movie did well, like it's doing great, of course, on HBO, but it is getting a theatrical run, even with the limited theater access I guess we have through the country right now. It's still doing very well. So I foresee a sequel, but hard to say. Like I said, the fighting, the fatalities we got, the Kano, to me, just he was entertaining as shit. He had me cracking up the entire time. Just his cocky attitude, where I'm such a badass, but I'm not. And like when he first saw Liu Kang and his fireballs, he was like, I want the fireballs. Teach me the fireballs. Then he got his power to the laser eye. He goes, lasers are better than fireballs. It was just like, he's a piece of shit, but he was an entertaining piece of shit. But I'd say we had Kung Lao, got the fatality of the movie.
Oh, so good.
And Goro. Yeah, okay, yeah. You want to say 95 is better. And you know what? For the time and they had Frank Welker voicing him in 95. That's, the Optimus Prime Soundwave and Megatron and all that, old school voice actor. And the puppet, it was as good as it could do. Gore looked great in this fucking film, and his fight with Cole was damn good. Cole's power made sense, and again, I'm gonna go back to these haters. Don't make your argument or your complaint about something that also at the same time proves to me you weren't fucking paying attention to the movie. Because I had someone literally complain about his armor made no sense. Why did it look like a weaved basket? It was based on his daughter's bracelet she weaved for him.
Yeah.
Pay attention if you're gonna shit on something.
And it was side to that, and then also he kept having like those visions of his father's spear being woven too. Yeah.
It's all
so
connected.
it was and then I mean like fucking Sonya Blade was a fucking badass in this movie. just finding like her character and her being like this sort of recluse. It's like pulling all these strings together and then bringing everyone together and everything. And just her eventual fight with Kano. So good.
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
again, I would say the weakest part of the story is the mark, and
Yeah.
the way that would transfer, and that was probably the weakest story element as far as a story that doesn't have a whole lot of depth until you get into in my understanding of what I've seen of the Mortal Kombat stories, is the depth of story comes from the characters' relationships with each other, and I think this
Right.
movie had that.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
complained there was no actual tournament. Again, correct me if I'm wrong out there. I know we have one-on-one fights in Mortal Kombat because that's the standard style of game it started with, but it hasn't felt like their interactions have been involved in a fucking tournament. It's a war of realms.
Right. Yeah. 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 And that's literally like been, I think since, I don't even know how far back, but I know from like 9, 10, and 11, it's
Yeah.
literally like war efforts and people like, making alliances and stuff like that. There hasn't been a tournament in so long. Like they essentially just like, plot and scheme against each other and stuff like that. And like, fight outside that. There was literally like no tournament in the last few games. And I mean, like, don't get me wrong, yes, they have like the standard tournament mode that you can go through, but the main story of the games is just based around these like huge war efforts and the alliances and everything.
And that was my understanding of it. So, because what I played, it was still the tournament rule, but that's because we're talking about Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, where they couldn't do all these cutscenes with the voice acting and motion capture. It was just fight the tournament for the sake of the realm, although they kept putting it out every year instead of every 50 years or whatever it's supposed to be. But so yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. It's it's probably like, I mean, it might be the best video game movie now.
Yeah.
Like Sonic,
I tried
Sonic was holding
looking. Yeah, Sonic was good.
Yeah, but Mortal Kombat was just, it was a great adaptation.
Yeah. And I mean, like we said, nailed it on costumes, characters, the fights and everything, and them having like fatalities in it. Like, and occasionally like saying something cheesy just to keep it, somewhat light. It's like, fatality, or they finish them or something.
Kano ripping out Reptile's heart. He was like, Kano, flawless
Kano
victory.
wins.
Or Kano wins. It's like,
Yeah.
But again, that's that Mortal Kombat cheesiness. We're talking about a movie based on a video game with animalities and friendship fatalities. We're not talking, again, we're not talking Oscar nominations with this. It was fun. It was references. It dropped the, Liu Kang flawless victory when he fatalityed the Bat chick whose name I don't know because she came in later into the series.
Natara.
There we go. So it was fun. It was gory. The fighting was top fucking notch. And I get it if it's not everyone's cup of tea, but you got to come with a really damn good argument. Not that you have to prove anything to me, but if we're going to have a discussion, you got to really come with it. You're going to try and convince me that 95 was better. Mortal Kombat 95 was better than this outing.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So we have wrapped up a big TV series for Marvel here this Friday as well.
Yes, oh yeah, Falcon Winter Soldier first season has come to an end, and actually, I figured all of the Marvel seasons were going to be just kind of like a one-off story. It seems sort of like that with them, like just kind of building up the characters and setting them up for the next like phase and everything. But I actually heard that this and Loki could possibly get multiple seasons, so that's kind of interesting and exciting in a way.
That's been the talk, and this one with its style, like WandaVision, it was built for a one and done. This could easily continue with a title change. Again, we'll get into spoilers here, or here's your spoiler warning because we're about to be getting into it for Falcon Winter Soldier. There's a timestamp. Pause. Go watch all 6 episodes and come back and then check us out. So will season 2 be called Captain America and the Winter Soldier?
Well, I somebody actually pointed out, I believe at the very end, either before the credits or mid credits, they actually changed the title to that.
Oh, did that? You know what? I didn't even
Yeah,
notice.
yeah, yeah. So if they do, then yep, that's what we'd get. Um, it was actually a pretty good season. Like I'd have to say it didn't have like the air of mystery or anything
No, no.
like WandaVision had, but it was basically what I figured it would be, and it kind of stuck to like the theme of the Captain America movies, where it's
Right.
kind of like a sort of espionage, government conspiracy, kind of like intrigue, political intrigue kind of thing going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Which basically, if you remember correctly, Sam was given the shield to Steve at the end of Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
At the beginning of this, he essentially is just like, no, I'm gonna like induct it into his museum. There, he didn't. I guess he didn't feel worthy of having the shield and taking up the mantle and everything. And then, what does the government do? But they give you a big O fu and gives it to a new person. And I actually thought I had his name up.
John
But
Walker.
John Walker, yes,
Yeah.
John Walker. Which if you've read the comics or anything, you kind of can see where this is going.
Right.
You also have this group called the Flag Smashers that are popping up, and they're run by this girl named Carly Morgenthau. And their main goal and the main reason that they're around is because back whenever the blip happened in Infinity War, all these countries kind of combined their efforts and let refugees come in and stuff like that. And then when people came back, they're basically turning their back on all these people and like enforcing laws to make them go back to their countries and everything. So the Flag Smashers' goal is to basically get rid of the people that are making all these rules and everything, that may have not even been there during the blip, but came
Right.
back and just started acting, like they're running things again, even though the world was apparently better while they were gone, while half of the population was gone.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's I said it's a now as far as like you said, well, it didn't have the air of mystery that WandaVision has. And I'm pretty sure we brought this up, but I'm gonna bring it up again just real quick. Uh,
Hmm.
if the feel of this show makes a lot
Hmm.
more sense when if you had known like this was originally going to be the first Marvel show after the
Right.
MCU. This was originally supposed to air first before WandaVision. So you can see them wanting to kind of do something a little more traditional to the films before going into the crazy experimental type shows like WandaVision. So yeah, I
Right.
think they wanted to stay in a familiar formula while also expanding a bit more long-term storytelling with it, and they
Hmm.
absolutely nailed it. No, they took they basically took just the little interactions from Civil War with Bucky and Sam,
Hmm.
and like we can make a buddy cop show, and they did, while
Hmm.
also simultaneously giving the entire Marvel fandom a face to hate because that first image of John Walker as Cap.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
the internet got so mad, and I
Yeah,
swear
they did.
it's intentional. I think they did
Yep.
little things like his helmet never really looked right as good on him as it did on Steve Rogers,
Yeah.
and I think that's
Yeah.
intentional. He's supposed to look a
Yeah.
little awkward in the suit. His big dumb
Hmm.
smile and everything, which what led to like one of my favorite memes of the whole like, hey, I want this thing. No, we have this thing at home. And it was like,
Hmm.
I want Captain America. You have Captain America at home, and it's John Walker. It's
Hmm.
like, and he was again like, I'm not gonna say sympathetic because I still don't feel that bad because of what he ended up doing, but a
Hmm.
very layered character. Like
Hmm.
you can tell he has layers of suffering from PTSD from his tours in Afghanistan, which
Hmm.
he brought up with his partner, Lamar. He also, that whole trying to live up to the legend of Steve Rogers pressure
Hmm.
as well. So it's like I get that, and like jumping a little ahead, with the end with his somewhat kind of redemption and then the manipulation that's going to be going on, and if he comes back, like is clearly going to be getting used, manipulated by giving him what he wants, to be like Cap.
Right.
It's a very complex character, and I really appreciated that with someone who didn't have to be. You know what I mean? He could have just been, I'm the new Cap, respect me because this is what I am now. You know what I mean? But they did a really good job with that. And also like characterization, like with Sam, everything him going through, and the big thing bringing up Isaiah. Is Isaiah?
Oh man,
yeah, the original Cap.
Isaiah Bradley.
Yeah.
He was actually, while Cap was frozen in ice. What they did is they did experiments on this platoon of soldiers, and basically sent them out to battle and everything. They fought for their lives. They were fighting for their country. He was the only successful experiment. The rest basically suffered and died. And it's a real tragedy story with him because, what happened is after that, they went to experiment on him, trying to find out why he survived and everything. And then he was thrown in jail after that. And, it was basically once the government was done with him, they just kind of let him go, and he just got swept under the rug, and his story was just never known or anything like that. So whenever they first introduced him with Bucky and Sam, and Sam didn't know about him, it was a really gripping moment to find out that there was this other super soldier who was a black man that the world didn't know about. It was just one of those things of just America not trying to look out for the minorities in the country and everything, and just not wanting to. And I think that was another big thing that Sam was really talking about is not being able to live up to Steve's mantle and everything. And a big thing about it was, just how this country is treating people and everything. And I actually saw it pop up online a lot. And somebody kind of mentioned, I don't know if they, knew in today's climate, what that they, would be writing the show with all of these contexts and stuff in here.
Right.
But I even if they didn't, they just hit it right on the head. It was very well done.
And I've seen some comments too. People clearly don't read comics because they said they made up this character so they could have this political drama. It's A, he's from a comic book. He's fucking canon. So, check your nerd privilege. B, the experiments is based on the Tuskegee experiments where, what, you really think they're going to take an experimental fluid and put it on white people first? No.
Right.
That's just not how it happened back in the day. You test it on minorities, unfortunately. So it's touching on that, and then the whole I really like that there's the thing with the cop. People complained about that. Obviously people who the scene made them uncomfortable, and if it made you uncomfortable, that's the problem. When the cop stopped Sam and Bucky's an international terrorist, known murderer. And he's like, "Are you okay, sir?" And he's questioning Sam, who's a fucking Avenger, well-known military. You know what I mean? It's because again, this was supposed to come out middle of last year, towards the end of maybe last year or so. And that was right in the middle of 2020. We all know how fucked up that year was. So it was a timely reference, and it is an important reference. It's still I don't just because we're in a fantasy world. It still takes place in America. It still takes place in an existing, other than some countries like Sokovia aren't real, or Latvia, which we'll get into that here very soon, aren't real. Yeah. But we are talking about American soil, so yes, these kind of things should be brought up because I'm not going to say you have to, but if you do it right, it's very good to address it to show that even heroes aren't above a cop profiling them. Just because of the color of their skin. That can be addressed. It should be addressed. And what that's culminated to, especially, getting towards the end when Sam was really trying to make his decision about if he can or should become the new Captain America. Isaiah, who went through all that he went through, and he did it for his country, and saw the way he was treated, and said no self-respecting black man would be Captain America or would wear those colors.
Right.
And
Right.
that's that understandable old school mentality. While Sam, who, grew up in the South, black man in the South, so he knows where he's coming from. But he has that Steve Rogers optimism because it's inspired from his friendship with Steve, as well as just his own personal experiences. And so he felt more like, because I'm sure it's these two trains of thought have to be within the black community for like these opportunities to kind of make a change and make, try to make a statement of some feel like the fight's not worth it while others like, well, we have to. And I thought it was just, their conversations were like some of the like most powerful interaction I think in the entire series.
Yeah. 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 It was just supremely well done. And like, just kind of like moving on through the series, they brought back a lot of stuff from past movies and everything. One of the big players that they brought in was what was his name? I'm spacing on it. Daniel Brew, who played Baron Zemo.
Oh, Baron Zemo, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So pretty much what you find out is the Flag Smashers have somehow got their hands on this the super soldier serum. That's why Bucky showed Sam about Isaiah Bradley, just to know that there's been other stuff out there and experiments in the past.
Yeah.
So what they do is they make plans with Baron Zemo because his whole goal and everything was to destroy the super soldiers and super soldier serum,
right.
And just kind of break that down because the whole vendetta with him and the Starks and the creation of the super soldier serum and all that stuff was really big with him and the Sokovia Accords and all of that stuff.
Right.
So Bucky pretty much hatches this plan, breaks him out, and they just kind of like go from there on like, kind of using his lead to go into these really shady places. We end up going and seeing Madripoor, which, honestly,
yeah.
I don't think I ever read anything where Madripoor was mentioned, but it apparently is this really huge thing in like the X-Men comics or something.
Oh, really?
Maybe
that was
mostly Wolverine, right?
Yeah. He spent a good amount of time, for whatever reason, known as Patch, when he would rock an eye patch and be pretty much doing work in the underworld. And it was normally he was either operating out of or operating in Madripoor. So that was a big, like, that's, if reading X-Men of that era, that was a huge world build to establish Madripoor into this.
Yeah, it was really interesting, and like I said, for some reason, I don't know, I guess I just must have not read the right comics, but I never really remembered.
Well, if you're not reading Wolverine, you're doing all right. So I grew out of my Wolverine phase, but like a lot of kids in the '90s and stuff, like you read Wolverine comics, and so he did a good tour in there. And also, like, but we'll get into a little more into Zemo. I also just want to throw out that they brought back from the Winter Soldier, Bartak the Leaper.
Yes.
He came back in. And from Civil War, we got Sharon Carter also coming back in, which, that turned into something. But and so the big shady, like, underground boss of Madripoor, the Shadow Ruler, is Broker.
The Power Broker, which
Power Broker,
apparently is who the Flag Smashers stole the serum from. And, in a way, whenever they get there, they figure out who's making it. Baron Zemo puts an end to that. And they get some help from Sharon to basically find out all that information and then get out of Madripoor. They go through quite a bit of changes, and then of course, when Sam and Bucky first run into John Walker and then his friend Battlestar, his like sidekick, it's kind of like doesn't go well because Sam's just sort of wanted that mantle retired. The U.S. government had other ideas, and basically Sam and Bucky were both like, what the fuck? But Bucky was more like, you should have kept the shield, So that's a huge like conflict between the two of them throughout the series. And just like them, both making like having these regrets about it and everything. And you've got Bucky, who's like constantly having. I think when we pick up with him, he's seeing a psychiatrist, and it has to do with all of his time as the Winter Soldier, and like he was being mind controlled, and he killed so many people, and he was trying to find ways to atone to that without really, atoning for it, like apologizing and stuff like that. So you have all of these like elements. It's just sort of like a powder keg between the two of them, and then you have this new Captain America popped up that's like, supposed to be, it's the mantle of like both of their like one of their best friends. You go into a lot of areas with John Walker, kind of being a bit of a hothead. At first, he kind of comes off as that cocky, like, I'll help you guys, blah, 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 blah. And then they're just basically like, no, we're doing this without you on our own. Blah, blah.
Right.
All this stuff. He essentially ruins like a good conversation between, because, Sam is like that sort of counselor therapist role too.
Yeah.
So he knows how to like talk someone off a bridge per se. So he goes into this whole situation where he's going to talk to Carly, and John Walker like jumps the gun and is like, no, it's been too long. We need to go in there, and just ruins the whole thing.
Yeah.
And because of that, his sidekick and friend Battlestar ends up dying because, they're taking on these super soldiers. John goes off the rails, chases after one of the guys, and in like a really wild, iconic scene, kills this guy with Captain America's shield.
Right.
It is just like such a like powerful like scene. Like all these people are watching him. He's in the costume, and the shield is just covered in blood.
Yeah. That was.
So
I was gonna say, sorry, that the imagery of, and again, now like, you see that this show isn't afraid to take, to make references and make statements about what goes on in the real world. And you got these people who are fighting to stop, like, say, immigration and people being kicked out of their country in the Flag Smashers. And you have a man who's literally wearing the American flag, killing them and standing over a immigrant's bloody corpse, with the shield. Like, that's some imagery. At least that's how I took it. And I thought it was a brilliant end to an episode, a brilliant shot to end on that episode. I did want to also bring up... was Zemo a little bit, though, that we did get, like I said, while we were in Madripoor, we did get the greatest meme gif of all time of Zemo dancing on the dance floor.
Oh, yeah.
Doing his own man dance, which was just absolutely perfect. But I also want to address, like you had mentioned, about Bucky, because, again, I love my friends. Someone complained about this show, and one of their complaints was Bucky had no arc. And again, if you're going to tell me a complaint, you better not show me that you weren't fucking paying attention. His entire arc of trying to find his humanity is how I took it. With making up for what happened. And, like, the little things, like, like when they're fighting the Flag Smashers, and he's already been hanging out with Sam a little bit. And you can see, like, Bucky ain't one for, like, little one-liners or anything, but you saw him, like, try when he knocked that one through the wall. It was like, stay there. And he said it so awkwardly, like he's trying. Like, the character growth of Bucky was really good throughout the show as well. And again, someone said there was no arc, and again, you're just showing me you're not paying attention to a fucking show.
Yeah. And I mean, just kind of going into, like, his past and everything, some other characters show up in this, and that's the was it the Dora Milaje?
Yeah, I think so.
Man,
AO showed up. AO showed up to collect Zemo from Wakanda, and
right,
oh boy,
because he's the one that's responsible for T'Chaka dying, Black Panther's father. So they basically want to bring him to justice. And Bucky finds out about this, I think, in the second episode or something, whenever they get Baron Zemo. They're walking to a safe house, and he ends up running into one of their devices that, like, tracks him or, like, keeps an eye on him. And he runs into Io, and they basically have this whole conversation, and then the Dormage pretty much come in at one point, and it just so happens that John Walker is there at the time, and they're talking about how they're taking Baron Zemo, and he puts his hands on Io, and they just fuck him up. And it's funny because at one point Sam goes to step in, and Bucky just kind of puts his arm on his shoulder, and he just kind of shakes his head like no.
Oh no.
Just
I mean, even before it kicked off, like they were like when John Walker comes in being all, because that's the thing, someone made a great thing about why the differences, why Walker could never have been Cap, even all his flaws aside. They're showing like every time Steve introduced himself, he didn't introduce himself as Captain America. He says, I'm Steve.
Yeah.
I'm Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
And John is like, I'm Captain America. So he saw these two ladies come in. I think Sam or Bucky's like, no. Sam's like, no, you want to fight Bucky before you fight them. And he walked in he's walking in like he's big shit, he's big dick swinging in this room. And he's just like, we're not gonna do this. We can handle it. Yeah, put his hand on her shoulder, and it was fucking on. And they beat the shit out of this man. They whooped him. They took his frisbee from him. And again, leading to Walker slowly just going darker, point out they weren't even super soldiers.
And that was one of his big points of weakness. And another really good thing that they did is the Flag Smashers still had samples of the serum. Well, when Baron Zemo got in there, he basically chased the person that was carrying it down, started smashing the vials, and somebody got to him before he could finish it, and John Walker ended up squirreling one away. And he kind of was contemplating it and ended up just taking it. And I think at a later point, Bucky's asking Sam, would you do it? And without hesitation, Sam says no. To have that power, it's just it shouldn't be out there in the world. So it was kind of an interesting thing where one person was actually kind of contemplating it and thinking about it, eventually just succumbs to oh, I'm weak, I need this. Right. Where Sam is just just a guy, and he decides that he's going to make do on his own. Yeah. It was a really, really good scene. And then, after the whole confrontation where John Walker ends up killing the guy out in the street by everyone, the government steps in, Sam and Bucky take the shield, and John Walker stands trial and basically gets forced out of the mantle of being Captain America. And at that point, they Sam and Bucky are just kind of discussing it. Sam starts training with the shield, so they kind of have a plan of trying to track Carly and the Flag Smashers and everything. And it's just this kind of interesting montage, because with the way that the world is and everything, with Sam being one of the people that was blipped for 5 years, they had no source of income or anything like that, and the banks foreclosing on their property, on his family's property with his sister and her kids and everything, and they're just in financial ruin basically. And his apparently his parents or whatever were really great people that would help the community out, and lend them money and stuff, and they just did the whole calling in favors and stuff like that, and fixed up their old family's boat and everything. And Bucky and Sam had this whole time where they were kind of going over Steve Rogers and training with the shield and everything. And I think at that point it's Bucky leaves him with a case that the Wakandans left for him, because they also, in that last fight, Sam had his wings ripped off from his flight pack.
Right.
So we all kind of saw where this was going, saw what we were getting into. That if WandaVision was prepping Wanda up for exploring her powers and figuring out who she really is. And Falcon Winter Soldier is going to put these two characters into, what they're going to be doing and who they're going to be following this series.
Oh yeah, yeah, and yeah, like I said, this is a great start to what they have now confirmed at the release of the show is that we are getting Captain America 4 starring Falcon. So that, like once the final episode aired, they announced that. So while we still may get a second season too into this, this is going to directly tie into a future movie. And,
Yes.
And again, that's like with WandaVision, it was all about pushing where Scarlet Witch and Vision are at now. And now, so this is just a fantastic show. You know what I mean? It was character building, world building. The mid credit scene at the last episode, revealing with Sharon to be the power broker and what that's going to tie into. I forget her character's name, but Julia Louis-Dreyfus from Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Her bringing in John Walker into officially U.S. agent. Could also be the tying of the things, and just overall, like I said, not only was it making like social and political commentary, it had great action, great character growth, great character development, pushing the world forward, which is exactly what these shows are supposed to be doing, and it's replacing having to do 10 years of movies again. But now we're getting a season.
Hell yeah, yeah, and like that was it was just such a monumental thing. Sam of course finally puts the costume on. He dons the mantle. It looks fucking amazing. But the speech that he gave at the end, because people were like, "Oh, thanks, you saved us from the terrorists," and he was like, "Why don't you stop calling them terrorists? You know why they were doing this was because you people are fucking up right now. And like the world is basically a powder keg, and we're just going to get another one of hers if you continue on the same course." And just kind of goes into this whole thing about like how, he put on this mantle, but they live in the kind of world and country that people hate him for putting on this mantle because of the color of his skin and who he is and everything. And it was just like that really powerful message. And then like the scene at the end with Isaiah Bradley, because they had his whole story and everything, and how nothing happened, like he just got swept under the rug like garbage or whatever.
Yeah.
And at the like one of the last scenes, and man, like this whole last episode just had me like all up in emotions. But this scene where he like gets with Isaiah and he's like, "Hey, come with me, I want to show you something." And I already knew where they were going with this. I 100% was like, "Oh, this is gonna hit me like real hard." And they were going through the freaking Captain America museum, and he had a statue of him built with this whole like just description honoring him and everything. And like it was a really great scene, like really touching. And go ahead.
Sorry, I was also going to throw him before I forgot. We're nearing our time. But also with Falcon debuting his comic accurate suit, was huge. And I got to watch the episode the second time with my wife. I know she hadn't seen. I think she may have known that Falcon. I know she knew at one point both Falcon and Bucky had the shield and the mantle. So like she broke out. She saw the costume. I'm like, "So what do you think? What do you think of the costume?" He goes, "He looks like All Might." And I'm like, I'm gonna take that as a compliment.
yeah.
I just want to throw that in because it was, that was a perfect reveal. But yes, that end scene though of Isaiah and just like the emotions of that, was huge. And that was again like this show. I wasn't expecting just a good action show, and that 100% delivered on it. But like the commentary, the characterization, the emotion that went into the idea of the mantle of Cap alone, as well as everything else like that like Carly was fighting for, and just the world and everything else they were going through, and was just like, it hit on so many levels. It was just a better show than honestly I thought it had any right to be. You know what I mean? Like it could have just been a good action film. basically in 6 episodes.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was yeah, it was just fucking phenomenal. Um and then one more thing that I kind of wanted to throw out here, just because
Yeah.
they really seem to be hitting on this, and I think it's going to be like, our really really big plot point going forward. And like they have more characters out here than I honestly realized. So in uh, Scarlet, sorry,
WandaVision.
Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
Yes, WandaVision. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was trying to think of the name. Going with the other names.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the coolest things and something that got me real excited was they introduced the twins, Wiccan, that are later on Wiccan and Speed, from the Young Avengers, right?
Right.
So, and this is one of the exciting things about Falcon Winter Soldier. Isaiah Bradley actually has a grandson that they introduced in this. Now, they didn't go far into him. He wasn't a big character or anything, but his name is Elijah Bradley. And if you know anything about him, he's actually the Patriot. Yeah. He's the Young Avengers Captain America. And, I won't go into details about his character or how they, beefed him up for that role and everything. But it's really interesting, and I'm really excited and hope that they explore that. So I was kind of like tossing around some thoughts like, if they're building up to Young Avengers, who could they possibly do in Loki? Right. Like who could we get? And this got me like really excited. Like literally after the last episode of Falcon Winter Soldier, I started thinking about this and I was like, oh shit, this would be brilliant. So we are getting Kang the Conqueror soon, right? Yeah. They've already announced this. This is known that's like one of the next big bads, which makes sense because he's a time traveling like villain.
Right.
He deals with anybody that. So Loki's series is going to have a lot to do with time travel. So they actually have a character who is Kang the Conqueror's son. That is Iron Lad, and that's and it's So. Could they introduce him? Maybe. I could see it. The only thing that I thought about that would make it to where they wouldn't is because they are bringing in Ironheart soon.
Right.
So they would already have that Iron Man element.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, but there's no real reason to say that they won't have both. And then one other one that I actually just realized is probably going to be a thing because, they're getting ready to release the new Ant-Man movie and we don't know if there's going to be a third one, but Scott Lang's daughter, Cassandra Lang, ends up being in the Young Avengers as well.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know much.
Cassie Lang.
Sorry, was this? I don't know like a bunch about like all the Young Avengers. I know Hulkling is a big demand for a lot of people.
Oh yes, yep.
And I mean, I don't know his origin, but I could see maybe Loki. I just want to see Loki run into a Hulk again because I can see that jumping in. And of course, and honestly, depending on when Captain America 4 is dropping, I could honestly see a focal point of that movie is him forming a new Avengers in the Young Avengers, because before then we're probably going to have Ms. Marvel with Kamala Khan coming out, so like that could be another. And they said she's going to play into movies, so So I think the door is open for a Young Avengers film. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, and I mean with everything happening or supposedly happening in the new Spider-Man movie, we could also get Miles.
Oh
yeah. So yeah, there's just so many possibilities. Plus, we're getting Clint Barton's. Actually, I don't know if it's his daughter or not. I don't think it is canonically in the comic books. But
really?
The new Hawkeye. We're getting her as well. So I mean, that's like 5 characters that there's 2 of those that might not be in it, but like they're already building up a pretty strong cast for Young Avengers. So. I feel pretty confident in saying that we're going to get some real big Young Avengers vibes in this next phase.
I think so, and which would also like work well because they said they're probably not going with a big intergalactic villain again. So a young team of heroes taking on a big threat on Earth would make sense if they wanted to go that way. One last thing I want to throw out too, as far as like what Falcon Winter Soldier, I don't remember if we mentioned it. World building was the country they went to where they talked with Carly and all that was Latvia, which is Doctor Doom's country that he rules.
Well, hold on. Is Latvia and Latveria the same place though? Because his is Latveria.
Son of a bitch. Or am I remembering it wrong? Or was it Latveria?
Actually, it says Marvel Latvia.
Latvia. Okay, so you're right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I got it wrong. I thought they had dropped us a Doctor Doom Easter egg with that country, but
it actually looks like well, yeah. So it says Latveria, not to be confused with Latvia.
Okay. I
But
thought we
mean,
had something else.
yeah.
But still,
but
yeah.
I still want it. They should still make
Absolutely.
it happen.
They should. I mean, hey, we'll go with Latvia over Latveria. It could be the same damn country. But yeah, great show. We both clearly enjoyed it. Both enjoyed Mortal Kombat. You know, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but fuck the haters. I'm gonna say it. I don't care. But that is gonna do it for our time. Any last thoughts you want to throw out there, Jerry?
I'll throw one small thing out there. If you're not watching Nevers, go do it.
Hell yeah.
Episode 3 just launched, and they did one of the coolest fucking special effects scenes I've seen in a long time. It's something that is done, but is never done quite like this. And yeah, fuck, it was awesome.
Yeah, great episode. Yeah, I'm not sure if we mentioned the Nevers in our last what we've been watching roundup, but yeah, go check out steampunk Victorian era X-Men. It's a very good show. All right, so as always, give us a like, give us a comment, subscribe if you enjoyed what you heard. Let us know what you thought about Mortal Kombat and the Falcon and Winter Soldier. And thanks for joining us. We'll catch y'all next week.
Peace.